Hi. Before we get started, I'm gonna just play some music a little
Freedom tastes like rain. I carry storms inside me nobody ever saw. Smile through thunder just to keep from showing flaws. I held myself together when the world felt out of place. But every drop of pain still ran down my face. Freedom tastes like rain, heavy, honest, real. It hits hard, but it's the kind of hurt that heals. Freedom tastes like rain, wild, loud, unrestrained. I'm standing in it, unchained. I walked through days where I felt so down to the bone, trying to fight battles I was never meant to own. But every storm I survived taught me how to stand. And now I face the weather with my own command. Freedom tastes like rain, heavy, honest, real. It hits hard, but it's the kind of hurt that heals. Freedom tastes like rain, wild, loud, unrestrained. I'm standing in it, unchained. I let go of people who kept me stuck in yesterday. Let go of versions of myself that got in my way. I washed off every lie they tried to make me claim, and found myself again inside the rain. Freedom tastes like rain, heavy, honest, real. It hits hard, but it's the kind of hurt that heals. Freedom tastes like rain, wild, loud, unrestrained. I'm standing in it, unchained. I'm not scared of storms. I've lived through worse. I'm not scared of rain. It's how I reverse. Every drop reminds me I survived the strain. Freedom tastes like rain, heavy, honest, real. It hits hard, but it's the kind of hurt that heals. Freedom tastes like rain, wild, loud, unrestrained. I'm standing in it, unchained. Freedom tastes like rain. I carry storms inside me nobody ever saw. Smile through thunder just to keep from showing flaws. I held myself together when the world felt out of place. But every drop of pain still ran down my face. Freedom tastes like rain, heavy, honest, real. It hits hard, but it's the kind of hurt that heals. Freedom tastes like rain, wild, loud, unrestrained. I'm standing in it, unchained. I walked through days where I felt so down to the bone, trying to fight battles I was never meant to own. But every storm I survived taught me how to stand. And now I face the weather with my own command. Freedom tastes like.
All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. I was just enjoying one of my new cuts. Is that how you say it? New cuts. I always got to come out with I got 18 new songs that I had to finish up, and I was like kind of testing them out. I like that. I like that. Wow.
Oh, okay.
Um, But anyway, welcome back to the Legacy Liftoff series. We are talking today. Actually, we're in chapter 1.3 in this new book. It's called The Unpacking Pain, a Trauma Informed Workbook for Women of Color. What we're going to do tonight is, Miss Linda, because you were not there on the last one, I think, we're going to start from the beginning again. We got up to 1.3 because this book is kind of different from our other books.
Mm-hmm.
So we got all the way up to 1.3 in the chapters.
Okay.
So what I think we should go back to do, I think we should start again, if you want to get a gist of what we were talking about. She's talking a lot about backpacks because remember, I think I did a show. I can't remember if I did a show or I talked about backpacks, and this is what the metaphor she used was talking about backpacks and how we carry around so many different things, and we, instead of us putting them down, we keep picking them up over and over again as we go in this journey that we call life. So that's what we're going to be talking about. It's different scenarios, it's different stories of different women. So this what makes it fascinating for me. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, and everybody will come in when they get it.
Okay.
So the introduction, setting the stage. Your pain has a purpose, but only you can get to choose its weight. So this one is called Aisha's Laptop. So I've already read that, so I'm going to go ahead and let you read this.
Okay. So where are we starting?
Okay, we're starting introduction.
Okay. Let me get to that. Mm. Oh, okay. Setting the stage. Your pain has a purpose.
Uh huh.
Okay. Setting the stage. Your pain has a purpose, but only you get to choose its weight. Is it Aisha or Aisha?
I'm thinking Aisha. That's what I'm thinking. It could be
Okay.
Aisha too.
Okay. Aisha's like laptop. Asia's fingertips hovered, unmoving, above the keyboard. Her laptop screen glowed in the dim of a long, tired evening, and on it, an advertisement promised relief. Anxiety therapy for the modern woman, it said, with a photo of a serene face that looked nothing like Aisha, own reflection after a 12-hour shift of code reviews and careful nods in meetings where her voice had barely made it past the lump in her throat. She had been staring at that ad for the better part of 20 minutes, not because she believed it, but because she was so deeply, achingly exhausted by the parade of people telling her how to feel, therapists with their gentle certainties, well meaning articles tucked into group chats, the quiet pressure radiating from her own family to simply pray and push through. She clicked the ad closed and sat in the silence. And the thought that rose up wasn't hopeful or motivated or ready. It was, why does everyone keep telling me how to feel? That question right there was the very first step into something different. And Aisha didn't know it yet, but she had just stepped out of the old script and into her own.
Wow,
Hmm,
that's deep, huh?
it is. Uh,
Okay. All right.
when helping feels like fixing.
Go ahead.
I, I have spent years sitting across from women who carry that same weight, that same bone deep weirdness, and I know that question intimately because I once lived inside it too. As an empowerment coach, I discuss this on other platforms and in the quiet, honest spaces of one on one sessions, and what I have learned from dealing with personal trauma throughout my life and assisting others with theirs is that healing begins to slip through your fingers the moment someone else takes the wheel and start driving you toward a destination you never choose. The traditional model of trauma work, with all its good-hearted intentions, has a habit of doing exactly that. It tells you what to feel, when to release, what stage you are supposed to be in, and how you will know you have arrived. And for women of color, that script often fits like a borrowed dress, tugging in all the wrong places because it was simply not cut for the shape of your histories, our cultural inheritance,
or the daily microstabs of racism and sexism that keeps the wound fresh long after the initial injury has supposedly healed.
Wow.
Hmm,
That's deep.
very. Choice as the antidote. What I discovered, slowly and sometimes painfully, was that the opposite of trauma is not calm. Oh, the opposite of
Mm,
trauma is not calm.
mm.
Okay. And it is not forced positivity or a perfectly articulated timeline of recovery. The opposite of trauma is choice. And that single word changed everything about the way I approach my own healing and the way I now walk alongside others in theirs. When you have been violated, dismissed, silenced, or made to feel invisible, what is stolen from you first is your ability to choose what happens to your own body, your own time, and your own inner world. And so the act of reclaiming that choice, deliberately, repeatedly, in small ways and large, is one of the most radical and restorative things a woman can do for herself. This book is built entirely on that foundation, and I want you to understand something very clearly from the first page. You will not find a step by step program here that demands you start up at point A and march grimly toward point Z, because that is the old model, and you and I are done with the old model. Instead, you will find questions and you will find an open hand extended toward you, and you will find the opportunity to choose what is important to you every single time you open these pages.
Wow.
Okay. The permission you may not have received. There is a particular kind of guilt that attaches itself to women of color when we even think about putting our own emotional work first. And before we go any further, I want to name it directly because it would try to whisper to you as you read it. It sounds like obligation, like duty, like the voice of your grandmother or your community reminding you that other people have it worse, that healing is a luxury for those with time and money and leisure, that your role has always been to hold things together, not to fall apart and put yourself back together in a shape that suits only you. I am here to tell you that this guilt is a liar. And I'm here to tell you that making sure that healing and being able to continue enjoying life is the goal is not selfish. It is survival. It is wisdom, and it is the only way you will ever have anything real left to give to people you love without resentment, hollowing you out from the inside. You have probably spent years, maybe decades, being the container for one people's pain, their expectations, their disappointments, and their unspoken needs. And the container is full now. And it is okay to set it down and ask yourself what you want to carry and what you are ready to release.
Wow.
This is deep. Okay, how this book works differently. What you hold in your hands is not just a book, it is a companion and a space of permission. And I have designed it so you can move through it in whatever order makes sense to your own heart, not in the sequence that an outline or a table of contents might impose. The chapters ahead each take on a different landscape of this work. As later sections will explore more deeply, you will learn to recognize the weight you carry. You will map out the territories of pain in your life. You will practice asking honest questions. You will navigate the inevitable setbacks that come with real change. And you will begin to build an identity that is not defined solely by survival. But none of that requires you to start at the beginning and grind through to the end like a task to be completed and checked off. You can flip to the section that calls to you right now, today, in this moment, and that choice itself is already practiced, already part of the healing, already a small rebellion against every system that ever told you that your instincts could not be trusted. Questions, not answers. I use questions when I work with people, and I use questions in these pages because I have learned that the most powerful shifts happens not when someone hands you an answer, but when someone hands you a question that unlocks a door you didn't even know you were standing in front of. You are already the expert on your own life, your own pain, and your own deep desires for what comes after the pain has been unpacked and looked at honestly. And my role is simply to offer you the right questions at the right time and then get out of your way while you answer them in privacy of your own journal, your own quiet moments, your own sacred inner space. There will be moments when this book asks you to pause and write, to sit with discomfort, to choose between opening a heavy door and walking past it for now. And every single one of those moments is yours to decide. The invitation is genuine, never a demand disguised as a suggestion.
Mm.
What pain is ready? As you begin, I want to give you a single question to carry with you, not as an assignment, but as a quiet companion that will surface again and again throughout the chapters that follow. What pain am I ready to unpack today? Notice that the question does not ask what pain you should unpack or what someone else thinks is most urgent or what a diagnostic checklist could flag as priority number one. Ask what you are ready for. It's ask what you are ready for right now in the real and imperfect texture of your actual life. And readiness is a deep personal thing that changes day to day, sometimes hour to hour. And honoring that rhythm is one of the most compassionate and countercultural things you can do for yourself. You might be ready to tackle the grief around a lost relationship, or you might only be ready to admit that your jaw hurts from clenching it all day. Oh, I can relate. And both of those are legitimate starting points, and both of them count as movement, and you get to decide which one opens first. Okay.
Okay. What's next?
Chapter 1.
Ah.
The weight we carry, understanding trauma in the lives of women of color. Uh 1.1, the hidden backpack. Maya, a 28-year-old black software engineer, jots, jolts awake at 3 a.m., her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. The nightmare was the same one she has had for weeks. Her boss standing over her desk, his voice dripping with condescension as he dismisses her cold review with a wave of his hand and mutters something about her being aggressive when she had simply stated her opinion clearly. She lies there in dark, her jaw already aching from the clench she cannot release, and she wonders why she cannot just let this go the way her therapist suggested. It was just a comment, she tells herself, and yet her body is reacting as if something far more dangerous had happened. What Maya does not yet fully understand is that she is not just carrying the weight of that one moment, she is carrying the accumulated weight of countless similar moments, some stretching back through her own history and some stretching back through generations before her. As an empowerment coach, I have seen this pattern show up again and again in the lives of the women of color I work with, and I live it myself. There is a hidden backpack that we all carry, and it is filled with stones that were handed to us long before we had the words to name them. Some of those stones are historical, the legacy of ancestors who survived colonization, displacement, enslavement, and systematic violence, and who passed down not just their resilience, but also their unprocessed terror through the ways they raised their children and the silence they kept. Some of those stones are generational. The messages our mothers and grandmothers whispered to us about how to stay safe in a world that saw our bodies and our voices as threats. The lessons about working twice as hard and speaking half as loud. The unspoken rule that our survival depended on making ourselves smaller and more palatable. And some of those stones were the daily micro traumas, the sideways glances in the grocery store, the colleague who cannot seem to remember your name but remembers everyone else's, the doctor who dismisses your pain as exaggeration, The constant low hum of having to prove that you belong in spaces that were never designed to you. What makes this hidden backpack so exhausting is not just the weight of any single stone, but the fact that we are expected to carry it all without ever acknowledging how heavy it is. Women of color are taught from girlhood that our job is to be strong, to absorb the blows and keep moving, to pour out comfort and care for everyone around us while our own reserves run dry. We learn to smile through the microaggressions, to swallow our anger when we are interrupted or overlooked, to soothe the feelings of others even when our own feelings are screaming for attention. And over time, this perpetual caretaking becomes so automatic that we stop noticing the weight at all. We just feel the exhaustion, the unexplained aches, the restless sleep, the sense that something is deeply wrong, even when we cannot point to a single catastrophic event. Trauma, especially for women of color, does not always announce itself with a dramatic explosion. More often, it carries in a slow accumulation, like sediment settling at the bottom of a river until the water that once flowed freely becomes thick and sluggish and choked. The racist comment from a neighbor, the sexist assumption from a professor, the cultural expectation that you would sacrifice your own dreams to support your family, the church teaching that your worth is tied to self-denial. Each of these lands like a small stone, and over years and decades, the backpack grows impossibly heavy. And because no one ever hands us a map or gives us permission to open that backpack and explain what is inside, we learn to compensate. We become hyper vigilant, scanning every room for threats before we even step through the door. We develop physical symptoms, migraines, digestive issues, chronic tension that doctors cannot quite explain. We lose touch with joy and spontaneity because our nervous systems are permanently braced for the next blow. Mm.
Wow, wasn't that deep? First of
Yes.
all,
Yes,
I'm listening to
ma'am.
you. So I'm sitting here. Excuse me, anybody who's watching on our live stream. I actually was yawning, and I was yawning without putting my hands over my mouth. So please, please, totally, please forgive me for being human. Okay, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay.
But
One
you
of
know,
the
before you go any further, do you see? I'm telling you, when we read it the first time, I was like, damn, this is
Yep.
deep.
Yes, it is. I can relate to some of the things.
Yes, yes. This is why I
Yes.
think this was great that I waited to the last minute to do this one. I think, I mean, this is the last one we close out with. But go ahead.
Mm.
I'm sorry.
Okay. One of the women I work with, a Puerto Rican teacher named Elena, who has spent 2 decades in under resourced schools, described it to me as feeling like she was always waiting for the other shoe to drop, even on perfectly ordinary Tuesday afternoons when nothing was happening. She would sit in her parked car during lunch break, gripping the steering wheel, feeling a dread she could not trace to any single source. When we began to unpack what was in her backpack, we found stones she had been carrying since childhood. Her grandmother's stories of displacement, her mother's constant warnings about trusting anyone outside the family, her own experience of being disciplined for speaking Spanish in elementary school, the years of watching administrators dismiss her concerns about her students. None of these alone would have broken her, she told me, but together they had created a constant background noise of danger that her body could not turn off. Understanding this hidden backpack is the crucial first step because you cannot choose what to unpack until you first acknowledge that you are carrying something. Yes.
Hmm.
So many of the women I work with come to me believing that their exhaustion and anxiety are personal failings, evidence that they are not strong enough or disciplined enough or faithful enough. They have internalized the message that if they were because just better, more organized, more grateful, more resilient, they would not feel this crushing weight. But the truth, as I have seen it play out over years of coaching, is that the weight is real and it has a source, and the source is not some deficiency in you. The source is a lifetime of being handed stones by a world that never asked whether you had room for them. And here's where I want you to hear clearly, because it is the foundation of which everything else in this workbook rests. You do not have to carry all of it. You do not have to unpack every stone, and you certainly do not have to unpack them in an order that someone else prescribes. The first act of empowerment is simply noticing the backpack and giving yourself permission to ask what is inside.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. It's like you can actually kind of imagine the ideal that we definitely do that. I had did a what's the name on instead of the backpack, I talked about a jacket, wearing
Mm-hmm.
a jacket, and how we always put the jacket on with all this other stuff that has nothing to do with us. We're just carrying this jacket and we take it off when we need to, but we wear it more than we take it off. So it was really the kind of same thing as this right here. But the backpack, like I told you guys the other night, her name is Miss Watley. Miss Watley actually wrote a book and I interviewed her, and that's what she was talking about. But she was prior military, so she was talking about the military lifestyle of carrying a backpack, what happens to women in the military, um, and carrying that backpack, that invisible backpack, which was a great story. And like for it to be something we're talking about now, years later, yeah, that is very much so fascinating. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this one for you real quick because you've been reading. You read like 5 or 6 pages straight. So the body keeps score, but so does your spirit. Camille, a 45-year-old Haitian American nurse, came to our sessions with a list of symptoms that her doctor had labeled as a stress related and likely psychosomatic. As if that explanation was supposed to bring her comfort, her shoulders were permanently hunched near her ears. Her sleep was fractured by nightmares she could never quite remember, and she had developed a tremor in her hands that made starting an IV feel like a gamble every single shift. She had been told to meditate, to do yoga, to practice deep breathing, and she had tried all of it, but nothing seemed to reach the root of what was wrong. When I asked her what she felt in her body when she thought about her job, not the clinical tasks, but the interaction with colleagues and patients and administrators. She paused for a long moment and then said very quietly that her chest felt like it was filled with wet cement. That sensation, that heavy and immovable presence, was not just stress, it was the accumulated residue of years of racism and sexism and disrespect that her mind had tried to push past, but that her body had never once forgotten. The phrase, the body keeps the score, has become widely known in trauma circles, and for good reason. But what I want to expand here is that the way that scorekeeping also happens at the level of the spirit. For women of color, trauma does not just lodge itself in the muscles and the nervous system and the gut. It also coats the parts of us that are meant to feel joy, creativity, connection, and hope. When I talk about the spirit in this context, I am not necessarily talking about religion. Though for many of women I work with, their faith is deeply intertwined with their sense of self. I am talking about that inner place where your authentic voice lives, and part of you that knows what you truly want and need and love. The part of you that can imagine a future that is not just about survival. Chronic unaddressed trauma acts like a fog over that inner place, making it harder and harder to hear your own voice over the noise of fear and obligation and the constant scanning for danger. The physical manifestations of carrying this weight are well documented, and you have probably experienced many of them without ever connecting them to the hidden backpack. There is the vigilance, that keeps your muscles tensed even when you're technically at rest. The way your shoulders live somewhere near your ears and your jaw aches from clenching through yet another meeting where you had to choose your words with surgical precision. There are the panic attacks that seem to come out of nowhere, but are actually your nervous system sounding an alarm about a threat it has learned to recognize through years of pattern recognition. The slightly raised voice that echoes a parent, anger, the dismissive where I'm sorry, the dismissive glance that mirrors a teacher's contempt and feeling of being trapped in a conversation where you cannot safely speak your truth. There are the digestive issues, the chronic fatigue, the autoimmune flares that research increasingly leads to the long term effects of discrimination and the constant effort of code switching. Your body keeps a meticulous record of every slight, every dismissal, every moment you had to swallow your voice for the sake of safety or survival. But what is less often talked about is the spiritual toll, and this is what I see as the deeper wound that needs attention. When you have spent years, decades, sometimes absorbing the pain of those around you, while your own pain goes unnamed and unattended, something inside you begins to dim. You stop remembering what it feels like to be liked, to laugh without a flicker of guilt, to make a decision based purely on what you want rather than what you owe. Your relationship with joy becomes complicated. Joy starts to feel dangerous, like a setup for disappointment, or indulgent, like something you have not yet earned. I have had women tell me that they feel guilty for feeling happy, as if their happiness were a betrayal of all the suffering in their family line or their community. This is not a personal failing. This is what happens when trauma wraps itself around the spirit and whispers that you are not allowed to be free until everyone else is free first. The disconnection from joy is one of the most painful symptoms that the women I work with describe, and it is often shows up as a kind of numbness that they mistake for strength. Jada, a 30-year-old black nonprofit director, told me that she had not cried in 4 years. She was proud of this at first. She saw it as an evidence that she had finally mastered her emotions, that she had learned to be strong, be the strong woman everyone expected her to be. But as we talked, she began to realize she had also not felt genuinely happy in 4 years, or genuinely excited, or genuinely anything. The wall she had built to keep out the pain had also kept out everything else, and she was living in a flat emotional landscape where every day felt the same shade of gray. This is what unprocessed trauma does to the spirit over time. It does not just block the difficult feelings, it blocks the whole spectrum of feeling until you are surviving instead of living. The toll also shows up in the ways you relate to your own identity and your own worth. When you carry the hidden backpack long enough, you start to internalize the messages that came with the stones. And those messages become a kind of background noise that shapes how you see yourself. You may find yourself believing that you are inherently too much, too loud, too emotional, too opinionated, too ambitious, or inherently not enough, not thin enough, not light enough, not differential enough, not grateful enough. These beliefs do not arise in a vacuum. They're in the direct legacy of living in systems that were built to contain and diminish women of color, and they lodge themselves in the spirit as surely as tension lodges in the shoulders. What I want you to understand is that all of this, the physical symptoms, the spiritual numbness, the distorted self beliefs, is a normal response to an abnormal load. Your body and your spirit are not broken. They're doing exactly what bodies and spirits do when they have been asked to carry too much for too long without any relief. And the first step toward relief is simply noticing without judgment what the weight has been doing to you. Before you can choose what to unpack, you need to understand how deeply the backpack has been digging into your shoulders and pressing against your heart. Now, I'm going to tell you right now what is happening to me right now. I am fighting back tears right now because this was so damn impactful. This hit me to the core. I don't know why, but it did. And I'm trying my best not to cry. Why? Oh my God. Okay, it's your turn.
Uh, Welcome, Miss Latasha.
I'm sorry, Latasha. Hi,
Yeah, I'm
Latasha.
just listening. How y'all doing?
I'm fine
Good.
too. Oh,
I'm listening at the latest story, and 4 years. I mean, even the strongest get tired.
yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, how can you go that long
Oof.
without shedding a tear? That's a lot of weight to
Yes.
carry. 4 years.
4 years without crying. Wow. And yeah, and we're told that that's being strong. You're being
No, no,
strong.
ma'am. No, ma'am. No,
Ooh,
ma'am. Even the strongest get tired.
yes, the strong get.
That's a lot.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm sitting here welled up, and I'm trying to read it so that you guys can notice that I'm welling up inside. I'm trying not to express it, but this is really like mind-boggling. And we as women do this every day, and we get mad if somebody don't admit that we're strong people. I'm independent. I can do for myself. We go through all of those, right? And inside, we're like a little girl just crying to just say, just let me do this. Let me play with my toys. Let me play Barbie. Let me play with my baby dolls. I'm not ready for all of this craziness. And why is it my responsibility to make sure everybody else is happy? Why is it my responsibility not to be able to be angry when people say and do things to me? You understand that, y'all? Could y'all get what I'm
Yes,
saying?
ma'am.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
You know, why is it that I can't tell you that Uncle Ray keeps coming in my room when it's time for me to take a nap? Why can't I tell you that? You know, traumatized. And
That's a lot. That is a lot.
yeah, it's crazy. And it's like, why is it that we have to carry that burden? Why is it that we have to act like adults when we're little girls? We're little girls just trying to play with our Barbie dolls, just trying to play. Well, sometimes we play house, just trying to change the diaper and give the bottle to our babies, our dolls. Why can't we do that? Why can't we skip rope, right? Why can't we go play hopscotch? Why is it that grown folks are in our faces when you already told us that we're not supposed to be around grown folks? Why are grown men and women, okay, are always around us at a time when we're trying to play? That's
Exactly.
where a lot of this comes from. This is deep seated in us as little girls. I'm not saying every African American girl or every girl of color is being touched. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying there is a large amount of us who have witnessed and been part of and been victims of and are survivors of grown folks putting their hands on us unnecessarily. How do you want to have relations with a baby, a little cute girl? Now sit still, cross your legs, keep your dress down. That doesn't help, because if a man wants to touch you and I tell you he touched me and you don't do anything about it, me keeping my dress down doesn't help. It's not the
Right.
answer.
Right.
It's not the answer.
And then when you tell them, some of these people, they want you to sweep it up under the rug.
Yes, yes. So
And
you
everybody not willing to sweep it up under the rug.
that's
I'd
right.
rather yank the whole darn rug up.
And they call you a liar.
Yes. You're
Well, when
lying.
you got witnesses, and people was there,
Yeah.
they can't call you no liar.
But the
And it's
thing,
so easy to go to take these kids to see the doctor.
Right.
yeah. But if it's mama's boyfriend, you don't no, you ain't going to no doctor. And then we're so quick, and I've heard this many times before. We're so quick to call little girls fast.
That's true.
What?
That's true.
How did she become
Yeah.
fast?
You have these mothers that's
Mm-hmm.
so weak
Yeah.
when it come down to these men. They are willing to go through
Mm-hmm.
allowing their daughters to be manipulated, raped,
Yes.
starved, deprived of just having a normal childhood
Yes,
to keep that no good man around.
that's right. That's right. Basically pimping her daughter. And this obsession of us with men, I'm thinking it's changed a little bit down through the years, but I know it's still a sector of us women who will sacrifice everything to have a man in our lives because it's something we have to have for some women. So we will do that sacrifice. We will do those things. We will pimp our children, males too, our baby boys too, to these men just to keep them in our lives. And any woman in her right mind would know there's something wrong with a grown adult wanting to have relations with a little girl. It's got to be
Right.
something wrong with her and him. And the ideal that you feel like you in competition with a 15, a 14, a 13, a 12, a 11, a 10, 9-year old girl who's just trying to actually mature. She's trying to find her way in life. She's trying to see where she fits in. And she's got this grown man literally stalking her. She feels bad when she goes home because she knows if she goes home, he's going to be sitting on the couch. He's going to want her to sit next to him. I want you to watch this movie with me, or I want you to do all these little scenarios she's got to deal with before she goes up to her room and do her homework and shut her door. And sometimes she don't even have a safe place to go
Right.
in the
And
house.
can't even focus at school. The
Can't
school
focus
grades
at
probably
school.
horrible. Can't
Hmm.
tell nobody at school because
Yes,
the
yes.
mom didn't threaten her so bad. But
Hmm.
I never respect, and it's just me, I could never respect any mother or father
Hmm.
that send a child through that much hurt and trauma.
Hmm. Yeah,
And that crap, it stems down from somewhere.
exactly.
On the mother or father side, it stems from somewhere.
Hmm.
The child don't understand it because hey, they're a child.
That's right.
But as you grow older, you learn.
Exactly. Exactly. You're right. 100% correct with that. You think about even now, even with church. Okay, let's talk church real quick. Talking about the same instance, there is a book called "The Sexual Abuse of in the Black Church," and it's a professor out of Colorado. I had an opportunity to interview him and that book on my Lily Author Showcase years ago. But that book was so profound because one of the stories in the book was this young lady. Her mom sent her to the pastor, and the pastor was supposed to be helping her with her problem. Well, the pastor turned around and started having sex with her.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Let's
she
see.
went to her mom and dad, went to her mom and told her what happened. They didn't believe her. So they put her in front of the church, basically letting the church, and the church was convincing her not to say anything about it.
Wow.
What kind of peoples?
But we have these people, no, honey girl, honey girl, honey girl. There are people just like that.
Yep.
Just like that.
Oh yeah.
The
Oh yeah.
church got mad at her because she exposed what he was doing to her. And he was seeing her for therapy. I mean, well, spiritual therapy, quote unquote, is what it's supposed to be. But yeah, yeah, he was having sex with her, and she tried to tell her parents, her mom, and the church. The church going to find out about it, and they shunned her because she told what the pastor was doing to her.
I wonder how many more other people had to endure that in their church.
Exactly, it was a lot
Exactly.
It
more.
had to be more because they knew what was going on, and
Hmm.
to just sweep it up under the rug like that in the church.
Yeah,
It was others that was done just like that child.
yeah, yeah. The book was so interesting how he broke it down, and it's like you would think the way the world is, you would think. But we have to keep in mind, most of the time, it's not about sex. Okay, let's majority of the time, it's not about trying to trying to feel good. It's about power. See, when you cannot subjugate or um, put your power or try to your power and your manipulation on one person because they catch it, an innocent child won't catch it. And an innocent child not only is going to be quiet about it because you're going to be able to manipulate and bully that little child, male or female, to not to say anything. So they're not going to say anything. And then you're going to be able to tell them, oh, it's not that bad, it's not going to hurt, or just let me touch you here, I need you to put your hand here, and as a child you're thinking, okay, I'm not doing anything wrong, because you don't it's never been presented to you as something wrong, because for one thing, most of the time the conversation that you're supposed to have with your little girls and boys has not yet had. They know that by the ideal of how they're interacting with you as the adult. If you're not saying as a little girl, well, mommy and dad told me that's a bad place to touch. They're gonna know that conversation had been had from the parents, right? But if they've never had that conversation, guess what? The person who's doing the abuse, they're gonna pick up on that. They're gonna pick up on the ideal that you never had that conversation with your parents, or your parents not having sitting down with you and telling you about that. So they're wide open. They are wide open to start doing things to you because you don't know, you're innocent in the whole thing. And sometimes when they have been told, it's still the same way. And then you grow up, you don't trust anybody, so you're dealing with a lot of trust issues. You don't ever feel safe, you know, especially around men. You don't like over aggressive men. You don't like men who like want to push their attention on you when you're not interested. You don't want any of that because you've already seen what that does. You've seen the damage it does to you. You have intimate issues with your partner when you do decide to get in a relationship. Sometimes your relationships do not even last long because of all of the trauma that you've been dealing with all your life. And all the, not only this, that trauma, just trauma in general, survival. So the happiness and the joyfulness that you're supposed to have, it's no longer there. It's been removed, forcefully removed from you as an innocent child. You grew up with all this other stuff going on constantly in your life. You don't know how to interact with relationships or men because of what you have already experienced. So you find yourself, actually, believe it or not, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but you find yourself drawn toward men who do the things that were done to you when you were little. Even though you don't, and subconsciously you're avoiding them, you want to avoid them, but you find yourself drawn to them. Because believe it or not, they molded you to be in that situation as a comfort. And I'm not saying that in the way that I want you to see it as a positive thing. I want you to understand where you feel comfortable. I always say we feel comfortable in our uncomfortability. That's what I'm talking about. Even though it's an uncomfortable position and it's an uncomfortable situation, we get comfortable in it because it's all we know, right? It's all we know. We don't know anything different. That's just like abuse. The same thing with the physical, not only the sexual abuse, but the physical abuse. We become comfortable in it. And they can make you feel the mind is something. The person you're dealing with can make you feel so crappy in your pursuit of trying to find yourself and doing what you need to do for yourself. But they have been so well in manipulating you and doing things to you that after a while you're like, okay, it might not be right, but I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to keep. I'm gonna have to do it this way. I'm giving up. So a lot of times women give up and then they grow into these shells of a woman. They're no longer in joy. There's no light. There's no happiness. They go into these jobs that they're not happy with. Everything they do, even though they're trying to pursue that happiness, it's that lingering, that backpack that's still full. that you can't get rid of. And that's what happens to us. And it happens more with African American women than people really realize. For some reason, we seem to be the target of everything, not only with our men, but even with white men, with purple men, with blue men. For some reason, it's something about us that men think that they have to conquer us and bring us down a peg or two. For some reason, why do you always seem to think it's all right to come after us? Think about that, y'all. So that makes me think that we are a threat. Our spirituality, our aura, our energy is a threat to everybody else. So to humble us, because we've endured so much, let's do things to them. And let's start them off when they are little. We'll do it to them. And we destroy them when they're little. So when they grow up, they could be these mean, hateful women that turn around and we can continue to do what we did before when they were young. And they have no remorse. A lot of men don't have remorse, or they don't have a conscience for the destruction they've done. And not only do they do destruction to one little girl, they'll do it to every girl in the family and destroy her. And so mom is left with a bunch of daughters that are all over the place because they don't understand what took place when they were little. And that's what we have to realize we're dealing with on a grander scale. So it's very important that we pay attention to that. And I guess, like I said before, that's why I was like feeling when I was reading this, I was like, damn, this is really hitting home with a lot of women, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I went off on that. I'm sorry. But I just thought I needed to say that. Um, so where do we leave? Oh, we started right here. Latasha, if I set you up, could you read it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let me know. Let me go over here. Okay, I'm at 140. So let me do it this way. What about 190? Can you see it at 190?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm in the right spot. That's oh, I went all the way back. So we're on 1.3. Here we go. Okay. The cost of people pleasing and perfectionism. Perfectionism, excuse me.
Keisha, a 39-year-old black attorney, sat across from me during one of our sessions and described her life as a series of performances where she was the only one who never got to leave the stage. At work, she performed competence and control, never letting a single crack show in her armor because she knew that any mistake she made would be attributed attribute not to her humanity but to her race of and her gender, excuse me. At home, she performed the role of the strong daughter who could handle every family crisis without flinching, the one everyone called when things fell apart because they knew she would fix it.
Hmm.
At church, she performed the role of the selfless servant who never said no to a request for her time or her talents. And underneath all those performances, she was dissolving.
Hmm.
Her sleep was a wreck, her marriage was strained, and she felt a constant low grade rage that she could never express because expressing rage would mean breaking character. This is the cost of people pleasing and perfectionism, and it is a cost that women of color pay at in at an especially brutal rate.
Hmm.
The roots of people pleasing in the lives of women of color run deep, entangled, reaching back into histories where survival itself sometimes depended on the ability to appease those in power. Our mothers and our grandmothers taught us explicitly and implicitly that the world would not forgive us our mistakes the way it forgives others. The, that our anger would be read as aggression and our sadness as weakness. That the safest face to show was the one that made everyone else comfortable.
Hmm.
And we also learned to become emotional caretakers, anticipating the needs and moods of those around us, soothing our conflicts before they could erupt, observing the discomfort of others even when it meant ignoring our own. This is not a character flaw. It is a survival strategy that worked for a time that we have now outgrown but cannot seem to put down. The problem with people pleasing as a long term strategy is that it requires you to abandon your own authentic voice in order to maintain the performance. Every time you say yes when your spirit is screaming no, you are adding another stone to the hidden backpack. Every time you swallow your opinion because you are afraid of being labeled difficult, you're teaching your nervous system that your own truth is not safe to express. Over time, this pattern utters your ability to even know what you want because you have spent so many years hardening yourself toward the needs and expectations of others that your own internal compass has gone quiet. I have had women sit in my sessions and genuinely struggle to answer the simplest questions. What do you want for dinner? What would you do with a free Saturday? Because they have so thoughtfully trained themselves to defy to others that the muscle of personal desire has atrophied. Perfectionism is the twin of people pleasing, and it operates on a similar logic, but with an even sharper edge. For women of color, perfectionism is often born of the brutal awareness that the margin for error is razor thin. That any that any mistake will be seized upon as proof that we do not reinforce.
Do not belong.
Okay, thank you, because these words small and I'm struggling with them.
So you're doing good.
Okay, now where we left off at?
You said a
Oh,
mistake will be seized upon as proof that we do not belong.
okay. I'm going back up here.
Okay, let me go back down. Let me go back down. Give me a second. I made it a little bit bigger for you.
Yeah.
Let me see where we left off at. Oh, we're not that far yet. Okay.
Right.
Um, did you say the physical and emotional toll of maintaining these twin patterns?
I'm go- I'm
The
trying to
par
blow mines up on my end.
the paragraph she start with perfectionism.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, hold up. And I lost it now. Give me a second.
Okay.
Professionalism. I got it.
Perfectionism is the twin of people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
It operates on a similar logic, but with an even sharper edge. For, for women of color, perfectionism is often born of a brutal awareness that the margin of error is razor thin, that any mistake will be seized upon as proof that we do not belong, that we must be twice as good to be considered half as capable. This
Mm-hmm.
message is reinforced everywhere in classrooms, in workplaces, in media representations, and it creates a relentless eternal pressure that leaves no room for rest or grace. The perfectionist, excuse me, women of color is the one who triple checks every email for tone before sending it, who rehearses every pres- presentation until her voice is hoarse, who cannot celebrate a success because she is already scanning for the next potential failure. And underneath all of the striving is a terrible fear that if she ever lets the performance slip, she will be exposed as a fraud and everything she has worked for will be taken away.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. The physical and emotional toll of maintaining these twin patterns is staggering. The constant vigilance required to manage everyone else's feelings while also performing flawlessly leaves the nervous system in a permanent state of high alert, which over time depletes the body's reserves and contributes to a chronic health issue that so many women of color experience. The emotional toll is just as severe. Leaving behind a mask means that you never feel truly seen or known, and the loneliness of that experience cuts deep. Many of the women I work with describe a profound sense of isolation, even when they are surrounded by people who love them, because they have never shown those people the women behind the performance, and they are not sure she would be accepted if they did. Okay. Let me see. What we at?
What makes these patterns
Okay. What makes Let me see. What makes these patterns especially
insidious?
insidious is that they are often praised and reinforced by the very communities they should be offering relief. The women who never says no is called selfish and devoted. The women who never makes a mistake is called impressive and competent. The woman who observes everyone's pain without ever asking for people help is called strong. And so the patterns become identity. You become known as the reliable one, the capable one, the one who never cracks. And through all the stepping out of the role of throughout throughout stepping through excuse me.
And the thought
And the thought of stepping out of that role feels like letting everyone down, or worse, like losing the only version of yourself that anyone values. But the cost of staying in that role is loss of your own authentic voice. Without that voice, true healing cannot begin. Breaking these patterns does not mean becoming selfish or careless or indifference to needs of others. It means learning to distinguish between the care you offer from the place of genuine love and overflow. and the care you offer from a place of fear and obligation and depletion. It means recognizing that your worth is not determined by your usefulness to others, and that your voice matters even when it disrupts the comfort of those around you. This recognition is itself a form of unpacking a conscious choice to examine the stones in your backpack that are liable other people's expectations and decide whether those stones still deserve the space they are taking up.
Wow, you guys, that was a lot. That was definitely. We're gonna
It
stop
was,
right there.
I had got through it. I couldn't see it, but I read
Yeah, you did a
it.
damn good
I
job.
did. I read it.
You did a good
I hope
job.
everybody understood it,
I
but I
did.
read
I
it.
definitely did. You did an excellent job with that. But
Yes,
so do
ma'am.
you guys. You see, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, y'all. This book, because this book is real.
Well, hey,
Yeah,
it's gotta be done.
yeah, 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 yeah. So real quick, because we already kicking into the Kimberly Frank show time. I sent him a
I
message.
didn't know we had a show tonight.
Yeah, he's doing because we have the election, the
Oh
qualification.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
So he
That's
wanted to
right.
do that. But I'm getting ready to
Yeah.
let I'm gonna let it, I'm gonna let him have the stage in a few seconds. So what do you guys think? What I mean,
Some of this stuff is hitting home because that
yes,
part that Miss Latasha read about you, I'm not a perfectionist,
yeah.
but I do go over my emails before I send them out.
Right. I was reading, I was getting into it. My mind was going completely left. I had to dive deep in there and I forgot I was even on here. I ain't finna lie. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had then got, caught up in it. But
I
I
know.
still read it. I
yeah.
still read it.
Yeah, you
I am not a perfectionist, but whatever I send out, I'm gonna go over it two, three times,
That's
and then
right. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna do
keep going over it. I'm gonna keep reading, and by the time I get finished, I guarantee you everybody gonna understand it, and some more people that's sitting around them because I'm gonna keep doing it.
but do
oh
you get
yeah,
what? Do you see how that actually our everyday working environment, how that actually explained to us what
yep,
we've been doing all this time?
yes,
Wow.
Yes,
That's what's so amazing about it. It really took what we've literally been living and been experiencing in the workplace or anywhere, in church or whatever, how we do this. And it's a performance that we've learned how to do. We've trained at it. And we don't even realize that we trained at it. You
that,
know?
that's true.
Whew.
yeah.
That is true. Because I was reading, I'm like, oh my God, I'm seeing
You
myself
see,
in this.
I had then got stuck, and I had to go back and yeah,
Because it's mind boggling.
It is.
It's we always see it as someone else's experience. We never see it as our experience. You actually like, yeah, this is my experience. Yes, and working for the federal government, doing all the stuff we had to do for the federal government. Yes, paperwork,
Yep.
emails, even when I do my presentations and all of that stuff. Yes, we had to make sure we had to look a certain way. You had to dress a certain way. You had to present yourself in those spaces a certain way. But it feels so good that we don't have to do that no more. Oh, it feels so
Yes,
good. It
Lord.
feels so good. Yes, we don't have to do that anymore. But just imagine, even in church, think about your church, even outreach programs that you be part of. You know what I'm saying? That you go, you have to do. Man, you cannot be angry. You cannot be that black woman that they claim is angry. She's not really angry. Lots of it is her nervous system is not working. And she's got this big, heavy backpack on her that's filled with all these different things that she's been going through. And she's not allowed to, like I said, smile and be nice and be the
right.
peacekeeper. And I get
Hmm.
that for for you. Let me see if I can put you on my agenda. Yes, I can get you in. Did you say you need to get facilitated for that program you're doing? I'll facilitate for you. I'll get everything you need. Yes, we've all done that. Wow. But to actually see somebody, how it really makes us feel in the physical part of it, not the physical touching and doing, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical part of how we, in the mental part of what we're doing and how we did it. Wow.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we've done enough tonight. I think tonight was a real good one. So we go 1 through 4. We'll do 1.4 on Saturday. If you want to read ahead, you guys go ahead and read ahead, which would be wonderful, and then maybe we could talk about it. Now, don't think I forgot that you did that quiz for
I'm
17
glad we're doing it Saturday because I still had like 5 more questions to
questions to
do.
do. Okay, cool, 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 cool. So
Yeah,
we'll bring that back on Saturday. I'll have more time on Saturday.
let me write that down.
Press. Okay.
All
So
right.
thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Thank you. Anybody on my YouTube channel who was listening, you guys definitely subscribe to our channel if you want to. I'm not going to beg you and plead you, but it would be nice to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This has been Legacy Liftoff with my Women of Legacy. Thank you guys. Have a great night, and I'll see y'all over on the next stage. Bye
Yes,
bye.
ma'am.
Good
Bye
night,
bye.
Good
everyone.
Good night.
night. Woo.